buy-to-let property investment. Now, this was an industry that I fell in love with. I had loads of houses and flats, and I used to make decent money from it. Then the government changed their idea. They taxed it to death, and I've fallen out of love with it. I've gone cold on the whole industry. Now, today, my guest is in love with buy-to-let property investment. He wants to buy more of it. But is he actually making any money from it? Why does he want to grow it? Well, that's the conversation today. Strap yourselves in. So, we're talking property today here on the Business Broadcast. Me and JB. Hello, JB.
No, hello, campers.
Hello, campers. Welcome back
People like
to the business.
People are like, what's going on? Has he started yet or what?
Well,
come on, give it a bit of enthusiasm.
Hello, campers. Welcome back. We're talking about property today.
You've lost all enthusiasm for property, haven't you?
No. I love property as long as it's commercial and it's attached to a business. I really think it's very hard to make money from owning residential property, mainly because there's this thing called the government that every time there's a budget out, we don't like landlords, we're going to charge them more stamp duty, we're going to not allow them to claim interest, and then everyone goes, it's just not structuring it properly, you should put it in a limited company and restructure. Like, even then, higher interest rates, I was speaking to my accountant about it, not that we give tax advice, which does seem to happen quite often here. If you are a person earning more than £50,000 a year, I think buy-to-let property investment becomes way less attractive. Unless maybe you own it completely outright and you're just collecting rent from it. But then I would argue, say you own a £350,000 house. What would you say the rent is roughly on a £350,000 house, JB?
Depends where you are in the country, doesn't it? But probably
just a
£1,000 quid.
Yeah, £1,000, £1,200. So you've got £350,000 of hard capital making you £1,200 a month.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
It is, isn't it? Well, you can put it into a Vanguard, not financial advice, or like one of those other sort of
like a government bond.
Like a tracking bond, or something like that.
Government bonds are great at the moment because we've got higher interest rates, or actually into a bloody business, which you could make infinite returns if you know what you're doing.
It is mad when you think about it, isn't it? Because it is just the standard Middle England thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, because
go to school, get education.
Granddad done it, Nanny's done it. There's always someone in your family that's
made a few quid,
that loves telling everyone, I've got 10 buy-to-let properties now. Look at me. But that game, I think, is coming to an end.
Yeah. How much of a portfolio of residential stuff did you have?
I've got a block of flats right now. I've sold 3 in the last sort of 24 months and put them into commercial property.
3 like blocks or 3 individual
3
bits?
Houses.
Right.
I've still got quite a bit. I'm struggling to remember it all.
Are you trying to exit it, although in a sort of tax efficient way?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Is the aim of the game to get out of all of it then?
Yeah.
Is it really?
And put it all into commercial.
Right.
People that you meet that are very wealthy don't have flats and houses. They own warehouses and businesses.
I met a friend of yours this morning. He's got no interest in buy-to-let. He just buys horrible little industrial estates.
Yeah. He's a man after my own
mega
heart. That's James Martin. Yep, can't read or write, and he's turned himself into, I reckon, a man worth 50 million quid.
Yeah. And unbelievably nice man as well.
Yeah. Well, he's a very, very dear and good friend of mine.
Lovely guy. But so would you? So if you can, your entire portfolio is going. Yeah.
If a tenant said to me, I'd like to buy it now, I'd be like, yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
And I would just take that money and hopscotch it straight into something that's like the building we're in right now.
If you wanted to transition from a residential and move that funds across to commercial, is there a way you're going to get hit every time you sell with a capital gain?
Yeah, you're going to get capital gains tax when you sell a residential property. Yeah,
there's no way to roll it into do something cleverer with it so that it's
maybe. I just pay the tax. Anymore, just sell one a year, pay the tax, put it in something better.
Yeah. What's your go-to thing at the moment? In commercial wise, light industrial.
Yeah, light industrial stuff like James Martin. Love all that stuff. But
why do you like that so much? Because I
don't know, just so it turns me on about it.
But there's the risk of
I'll tell you the
tenant not
change.
paying if they live in your house, right? But then if they with like commercial property in general, you've got the risk of the business not doing well, and that's why they can't
you just
pay
get another business in.
Can you get them out quicker than on
Well, in the southeast, it's much easier to manage commercial tenants out of property than residential people out of property. Anyone that's a buy-to-let landlord that has a tenant that hasn't paid, getting them out, it's like getting out of a relationship with someone.
I just leave.
Yeah, do you?
I just pack my bag and go. What was
How long
that?
you been married?
Long time.
Yes, so that's obviously not true.
I haven't decided to leave yet, though.
No,
Still making my escape plan.
Are you? I honestly think commercial property wins on so many bases over residential.
Why do
Especially if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Yeah.
If you're not an entrepreneur and a business owner, and say you're a teacher and you're a steady Eddie and you don't like risk, maybe a residential property buy-to-let isn't a bad investment. You will get some capital growth. It'll pay you a bit of income. But if you have an ounce of entrepreneurship in you, buy-to-let property is nowhere near as good as commercial trading businesses, in my opinion.
What is the commercial? I said that weird. The commercial property equivalent of like a baby buy-to-let. What's the gateway drug into the commercial world?
Well, if you've got a trading business, the property that your trading business operates out of, that should be your first.
Yeah.
You know, you own a roller skating rink. You want to own the building that the roller skating rink operates out of. That should be your first play. You shouldn't be. Yeah, that should be the first play. Once you've done that, then warehouses that people want to rent out.
It's been amazing how many people have been on the podcast recently, and their biggest issue is finding space, especially in the southeast and like Essex, where they're like, we just can't find
That's the thing.
space.
Getting the money is not the problem. Finding the buildings is the problem. I mean, getting the money is difficult. It's not super easy, but actually, there is not an abundance, certainly in the southeast of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Or actually, I'd say in the south of the United Kingdom, up to Birmingham, getting property, even if you've got big money, it is difficult.
It's mad though, because when I drive here to do this recording, there's loads of space. There's tons of land. There's loads of it. Like, why?
Oh, land?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's land, but
there's
it's very expensive to build.
Usually
it's
stuff.
It's cheaper to buy it. I mean, I want to tell the story of I've got a 20,000 square foot warehouse in Ipswich, which I paid, I believe, £950,000 for to rebuild that, buy the land, 1.7 million at the time of buying it. So it's cheaper sometimes to buy than build.
Do you get frustrated that there's all these taxes and all this pressure put on? I know you're exiting the buy-to-let market as it stands at the moment, but it seems like buy-to-let landlords, of which I guess I still am one on some level, you get vilified, and there's that whole perception of like, oh, it's a rich money grabbing landlord. But actually, there's just a massive lack of housing stock at the moment. And if people don't rent to other people, where's everyone going to live? Like, where does it actually
that's
end?
a problem that the Irish government found out because they've reduced all the penal taxes and stopping landlords investing in residential property because not everyone actually wants to own their property. There are a big amount of people that are frustrated that they can't get the deposit together.
Yeah.
And I think if you really look at it, if you hear what your grandparents went through to get their, they always tell us, oh, it's only £5,000 for a house, but they might have only earned £500 a year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's all relative. And actually, I think now that there was no help to buy schemes back then.
No.
And usually it was one family working people back then. I'm not being sexist. It was a male-dominated workforce, and women stayed at home.
Yeah.
So you had one salary to pay everything, and people didn't have far-flung holidays. 2 cars. Yeah, they didn't have all. It was, one car if you was very lucky. You ate at home. You didn't go out for dinner. Going out for dinner was a big treat. And so it is. If you want to own property, and I know people will slag me off in the comments for about what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it. If you want to own a house right now, you just have to create a side hustle, work 7 days a week for 18 months, like I did, and you get the deposit together.
There you go. I'm just going to leave that to drop for a moment.
But if you want to turn property into a business, I think that's becoming more and more difficult. And that's where we're going to enter into this conversation with our friend today,
Matthew Cox,
who has a business called Charles Cox.
It's very confusing.
And I said, and you said, that must be his dad. But no, that's just his middle name. And he decided to use that to make himself sound better than...
Sound posher.
When he was younger.
It does work though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does work.
Charles Cox, I feel like I want to entrust them with my property management needs.
Oh, I think you're wrong. I think I'm Matthew Cox from matthewcox.co.uk. Oh, you're the only one in the business. I think he's saying, I'm Matthew Cox from charlescox.co.uk. A long lineage of family.
Yeah.
I think that's what it
Perception is reality,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah. So tell us about the business. He's
been trading for 6 years, estimated monthly revenue of £130,000. Team members, he's got 35 of them. And there's a couple of challenges. Challenge number 1, we own a number of companies, some 100%, others are investments, but I'm struggling to grow some of them as I spread myself thin. Challenge number 2, buying property seems rather slow or relying on mortgages rather than loans. How do you get the bigger deals? Challenge number 3, working on my own brand. How do you go about this? We always ask people, where do you want to be in 1 year's time? And he said, buying commercial space with a solid system in place, sold low profit buy-to-lets in personal name. There you go. He's another one who's out of the market and be better at deal structuring and wants to get to £2 million in a turnover. What does a business look like when it's finished? When someone else can truly run it, so it could be sold if so desired. So it doesn't sound like there's a plan there. There's not a plan there. Do you make the profit you want to make? If so, what is it? We've grown margins, but they have been squeezed. Day-to-day in the business, he does 65% marketing, strategy and networking, and 35% operations. And then he's got some questions that he would like to ask you.
Do you
would
feel
you
like
now
we
choose? Sorry, over the top. So buy-to-let property. Let's say you have a windfall. Obviously, I know what you're going to do. You're just going to like buy a roller coaster or like a theme park or something like that.
No. If I sell any of my buy-to-let properties, I make sure I put it into more slow pounds.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I don't want to just flip it into trade. No.
What about if you needed some cash to buy something for the trading business? Would you do that, trade it, and then buy more slow pound stuff, or is that your hard and fast rule?
Give me an exact example of what you.
So let's say you sold 2 or 3 things, or sold like the little block of flats, for example. You get £1 million, and you need £1 million for the down payment on another big food services company.
Yeah, might do that. If I was, what I want to do is be creating more income with the money. I don't want to just put it into cash flow.
Right. Fine.
It has to generate something new.
I feel like you're justifying it to me. I'll allow it.
Okay,
it's good.
fine.
It's good fiscal. It's a good fiscal way. But one of the things we said this on the podcast before.
Because the reason I like that, JB, is I'll just sell something and put that into the cash flow of the business. You'll always do that habit then.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit tough. Let's not market.
Just liquidate that one.
Let's not try and get some more customers. And that is what multi-generational wealth is lost for that reason. So, have you ever heard the phrase clogs to clogs in 3 generations?
No.
Well, it's a well-known phrase. I can't believe you've never heard that before. So first generation builds it, second generation maintains it or improves it, third generation loses it. And only 10% of UK wealth gets to the 4th generation. It's only people like the Duke of Westminster that have got these things structured around them that means that the wealth gets to multi-generation. So only 10% gets to the 4th generation. And really, they are hugely asset rich in those situations, but very cash poor.
Yeah.
Because the trusts that have been set up around them means that they can't sell anything and they can just live off of
rental income and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you couldn't invest into another business or you couldn't invest in commercial, would you now go for something like a government bond or like a Vanguard?
If I'm 60, 70, and if I'm a teacher, an accountant, a solicitor, and not got an ounce of entrepreneurship in me, then I think those are very good things to do. But I think I can out-earn the bond.
As a tagline. I can out-earn the bond. There you go. Anyway,
unless it's truly amazingly tax efficient and we've got super high interest rates. Because I have read up on some of these government bond things. I'm like, bloody hell, because you're not actually paying in any interest on the gain because of these ways they're structured. And if some of that stuff you really do have to look at.
But you've got to have a big chunk to make that worth doing in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. Right, we've spoken about Matthew sort of almost behind his back for the last 20 odd minutes. We might as well bring him on. Matthew, are you there?
Can you ask him what his business is in his own words?
Can you explain Charles Cox Group and everything that you guys do for the listener at home?
Within 30 seconds.
Within 30 seconds.
Yeah, so we're a property management company. We're kind of what we call multidiscipline. So we kind of do all different aspects of property. Our main kind of bulk of business, or like 70% of it, is block management. So anywhere where there's a service charge to collect, so typically blocks of flats. That has then led us on to forming different departments like building surveying, property letting side of things, development, various other bits and bobs, all connected to property. The only thing we don't really do at the moment is a state agency, but we do all the other aspects of property. And as a kind of spur on from that, we've acquired a number of businesses to do with property or business outsourcing related services. So we run another company called We Group, which does business outsourcing, and we also have our own maintenance team as well. So that's kind of like the Charles Cox Group, if you like, as a kind of overarching parent company.
Well done, Matthew. I mean, that was like its own podcast there, wasn't it?
Well versed.
So how many years have you been going? I know it says here we need to get this changed on our notes. It says 6+ years, but that's the maximum you can choose. How many years has it actually been going?
Yeah, so Charles Cox has been going since 2010. Prior to that, I was doing the same thing at a partnership somewhere else.
Fine.
But I didn't overly gel particularly well with being in a partnership because it's quite difficult to get things done, as I'm sure you're aware, and there's too many opinions and views on things, so I left that and set up on my own.
So we're now doing 2010. Yeah, got it. So now doing some decent revenues. Do you feel like you're making profit? Well,
we've grown a lot during and since the pandemic, and I think profit margins have been squeezed a bit because we've become inefficient in some places.
Why?
You know, we don't always do things efficiently, from spending money to recruiting and stuff like that. Just because as you grow, I found it quite difficult to keep control of all of the various aspects of it. And as you're growing, you know, there's an air of kind of like act quickly to stabilise things. So this year's sort of project for me was to try and sort of stabilise things and get the profit margins back a bit. Also things like we have a buy-to-let.
So the growth is eroding margins because you employ more people, is that why?
Yeah, primarily employment, but obviously that is, as we grow, because we're not working efficiently sometimes, that is, eroding the profit margins. And then things like the buy-to-let property. So we have a portfolio of 14 residential properties that we've bought, refurbished and refinanced as a kind of normal sort of standard model. With the higher interest rates and the tax legislations, they've become less profitable.
So why carry on doing that? I noticed in the notes you want to do more buy-to-let property. If you know it's not that profitable anymore, why do more?
I'd like to get into either buying whole blocks of flats or possible commercial property, that sort of thing.
Why blocks of flats?
That I found is quite slow. Well, it feeds into our existing business model, so we can manage the block of flats, we can do the surveying, we can then do all the rentals as well through the lettings department. So kind of as a business, we're quite geared up, and it feeds the other bits of the business as well.
Is that just justifying it to yourselves? Because, you know, if you're going to rent it out, you've got 6 flats in the block and you get £6,000 a month, that your rental company will make another £500-600 a month. Do we really want to tie up that much capital for another £600 a month? Just playing devil's advocate here.
That's the question, really. As I say, they've become less profitable. I mean, in a company name, obviously more tax efficient than in a personal name, but even in a company name,
you still got to get, if you want to get the income out though, you tax it up then, don't you?
At the moment, we're going on a kind of build it approach. I don't need the income personally.
But why? I want to. Someone like you. Right, why though? Why do you want to build it? It's a better question, isn't it?
Well, build the property thing. Yeah. It's kind of what we know, really. I'd like to get into commercial, but it is our kind of. For me personally, it's bread and butter. It's sort of what I've been brought up on, and what we've done for a period of time with our spare excess cash, if you like, our profits.
Yeah, me too, though. Me too. That's what I did. You know, that's what I did for so many years. Yeah. And then you just look at it and you think, why am I tying up so much good, hard capital into something that makes such pitiful returns? And there's just so much better stuff you can do with the money, especially look, when interest rates are low, and the government are pro-tax on the sector, I think it's very different, but the government are anti the sector, in my opinion, just seeing their behaviours. And I don't believe if you have a Labour government or a Conservative government, it would be any different. And I think the high interest rates, I mean, there is an argument high interest rates are bringing property prices down, which I think is a good thing. I think they were too expensive, and I don't like loads of cash tied up in bricks and mortar. I'd rather it sloshing around the economy. But yeah, anyway, look, that's just my thing. So let's go on to buying a commercial space. Your challenges. We're in a number of companies, some 100%, other investments, but I'm struggling to grow some of them as I spread myself too thin. My medicine that I would prescribe for that challenge is you don't start anything else unless you can afford the management that are better than you to manage the existing. And that's the folly that most people don't do. So they go, I'm a superhero business. I'll just set this up, set that up, set this up. But they don't put the management in place, and that's why it falls apart. What say you?
Yeah, I think that's correct to some degree. Some of the other business that we've got, the business outsourcing that I mentioned, they actually have two people that run the telephone call handling service and the bookkeeping side and general admin. So
is that causing you any problems?
It's more the growth of it, to be honest, because they're so tied up in the day-to-day running of it. Yeah. It's quite difficult for us to actually kind of grow the business. And because Charles Cox is so much bigger than they are, when I do my networking or brand awareness or whatever I'm doing, it's always I'm kind of known for being Charles Cox. So those companies get a bit kind of dwarfed when I'm maybe, trying to sort of bring attention to them, I suppose. So I struggle a little bit with kind of spreading myself too thin across various bits when trying to grow them with those existing teams, because they're obviously they're at capacity running the show, almost acting like CEOs, I suppose, in those particular businesses. But
you shouldn't start new stuff unless you can afford the people to manage the new stuff or take it forward. And sometimes you have to take a step backwards to get everything in your house in order, then to go again. I've had to do that multiple times in my career. And people look at all the stuff that I do, but the secret is I spend £1 million a year on my senior people to help me run my companies. And without that, it would all fall down like a pack of cards. And I'm prepared to pay people more than I earn out of a business for a lot of years to grow the business, which, I bought Party Pieces last year, and, I've put loads of management team and resource into it. Probably won't make any money out of it for 5 years. A lot of people will do that, but that is the secret to having multiple streams of income. And that's the thing, right? If you really want to invest in these companies and grow, and if you get a company up to the next level, that's really smart. But you should be doing that, in my opinion, business first, then property second. You build those businesses up, you sell them, you have a big lump of cash, then you can do property in a big way. And that, to me, is just a better way of doing things.
I suppose we're at a kind of two stages, really. Like, we're investing in those businesses, and you're right, they will see more money, or definitely those businesses will chew up more money as we grow them. But that's okay. I kind of have a kind of 5-year strategy with some of those things. But then when the excess cash comes, I find that, this kind of very vanilla buy-to-let type arrangement is not particularly a good use of the excess cash.
Can I tell you how I think, Matthew? I just want to say it one more time. Invest your excess cash into building amazing management teams, and then sell a business, have a liquidity day, take that liquidity, and then do property, because you've got enough safety. You've got 14 around you. That's more than most people would dream of having that. You build up an arm of your business, you sell it, you pay 10% capital gains tax on the first million, 20% thereafter that in your lifetime, and wow, then you can really go and buy a property. You can buy whole blocks of flats, you can build blocks of flats if that's really what tickles your taste buds. It wouldn't be for me, but you could go and buy commercial warehouses and office blocks and do some really amazing stuff with property. So build the business first, then property second. That's what I would do. Obviously, I can't tell you what to do, but I think that's a much better way round, because you can invest 50, 60, 70 grand that you was going to put into a vanilla buy-to-let into really good management that could double your revenues and maybe triple your profits.
Yeah. Okay, that's I mean, it's fairly interesting because obviously I've always thought of just taking those things because they're quite secure. You know, you get that kind of drip feed of income. But
yeah, I get that. But what I'm saying is, if you want to do property in a big way, you need to have liquidity. Yeah, I mean, we understand that. If you want to buy a big portfolio, if you want to buy a big property, you need liquidity. Like big liquidity, and lots of people that have made big profit money from property do it because they have got big cash and capital around them. And I think it's very, very hard to do from trading a business. It's very slow. To make big money, you build a business, you sell it, because it's the most tax efficient thing I know, and then you can do property on steroids.
Yeah. Okay. And I suppose the most attractive time to sell it, I mean, you say otherwise, but it is really when I'm not really involved in it.
Absolutely.
As in, someone can buy it from me, and
so you the number one. So what makes a business start being attractive for people to buy it with other people's money, not selling to someone like you or me, but someone that's like a venture capitalist or private equity. We're looking, bigger is better. The bigger the business, the bigger the multiples. So, you want to have good EBITDA, at least $1 million, preferably $2 million of EBITDA. So that's earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization, and an amazing management team that are running the business. So it's running without you, and predictable revenue streams going into the future. If you have those things, brilliant management team, sticky cash flow, sticky customers that you can predict what's happening in the business, and it's profitable, and there's opportunity to scale it, there's opportunity for arbitrage. You can say what the business could do in the future if you had unlimited amounts of cash. You sell that. You sell it for 3, 4, 5 million. Then you go and buy a property on steroids, and you have a much better life. Challenge number 2, buying property seems to be slow, or relying on mortgages rather than loans. How do you get bigger deals? You build a business and you sell it. That's how I would do it. Just as I said. Challenge number 3, working on your own brand. How do you go about doing this? JB.
I think you need to be really careful with this, because I think you could draw attention to the wrong stuff at the moment. And you're saying about sort of going out and networking. It sounds like you think of brand building as going to like a BNI or a breakfast meeting, and then what are you putting those sort of like direct small networking room leads into, and that's a very, very difficult way to scale your brand. I think you can get sort of micro famous in a town in that way, but I would be getting clarity on what you're actually doing as a business owner before, because what you don't want to be is the guy who's got a few buy-to-let and got a bit of a property company and got an outsourcing company, because a confused mind never buys, and your brand is just your reputation. So you need to get clear on what you want to be known for, if that makes sense. I think the shift that you potentially make is like property entrepreneur, if you wanted to put like a broad umbrella over the top of it. But yeah, I wouldn't be spending, I wouldn't see that as a challenge that you've got right now. It seems like shoring up the businesses that you've got to make it operate in a much more effective way is going to be the move forwards, because then you can put that management team around it, and you can probably bring in a good marketeer who can actually help you to genuinely build brand rather than just build sort of reputation in networking rooms, I would say.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, I've got a lady who started working with me about kind of maybe our own stuff, like the entrepreneurial journey and the stuff of that, because I found that a lot of it has opened up leads to us. As I do fear it's like a bit of micro famous, as you say, like in the local area, like
famous to a few,
wider community and exposure to larger deals, because although I quite like the aspect of growing a business, and I've done some of that through acquisition, and those acquisitions have come from that kind of micro famousness, but outside of the local area I don't really get an awful lot of interest in that sense. So that's where the branding thing, personal branding, might have come from, I suppose.
Look, I think personal branding is. It's funny. I was speaking to Daniel Precy, who had done a very long form content. I said, what if someone doesn't want to do personal branding? And then he said, as quick as a flash, and it made me rethink things. He said, well, there's lots of things you don't want to do in business, because you got to do it, haven't you? He sees it as that important.
Yeah.
He just went,
yeah, he's right.
No, just do it. It's like, I don't really like exercise. Well, I don't like exercise. James Sinclair doesn't like exercise, but I make myself do it, because I think if I want to live past 50 and live healthily past 50, now's the time to start doing it. So I do think personal branding is really important for business owners. But something you said there, I've even wrote it down. A confused mind never buys. I absolutely love that. And I think if you're all things to all people, it can be very difficult, can't it?
Nothing to no one, ultimately. And I think the other thing is that if you're in a business that does, or you own a stake in a business that does outsourcing of business services, then you need to doubly shore up the stuff that you're doing and use that team that potentially you own a stake in to help you with all the other bits and pieces. Because again, if you're not where you want to be operationally, and maybe you don't realise you're not where you want to be operationally, but it will, if you've got the right team around you, it will save you all of that time. Because at the moment, your breakdown of time is I had it somewhere.
65% marketing, 35% operations.
Yes, if you get rid of the 35% operations because you outsource it to great people through the company that you own, then you're a bit more off to the races, and then it's more congruent to the message and the brand that you're trying to put forwards.
Matt, can I ask you a question, Matt?
Yep.
Are you satisfied with where you're at in business right now?
No, I suppose. I've got I feel like I have quite an ambition and burn, and I think there was something where you said on one of your podcasts that you have like a disease. You're just attracted to like just entrepreneurialness and like trying to grow businesses and be like that. And the money and the rest of it is just a byproduct of that. I just enjoy it. Like I've enjoyed really getting Charles Clocks to the size it is, and I enjoy the next challenges. Not satisfied because I don't know when what the end goal is really, I suppose.
Do you know, the thing is, I don't want anyone that's listening to this thinking that James Sinclair is anti-property. I love property. I absolutely love it. I think it's an amazing way of building long-term wealth. I think it protects you as a business, but people try and shortcut the system to invest into property, I think, too early at detriment to the trading business. And I probably put my hand... the reason I get so frustrated about it is because I think I'm guilty of that as well. I've put too much money into property too quickly. When if I'd have put it all into my trading business, once you're not a fool and you know how many beans make five in business, you should give as much cash into the business growth as possible and build some security around it in case it all goes wrong. But I think you've done that, Matt. You've got 14 buy-to-lets. Most people do not have that. And you now need to build effective management teams and sell a part or one of your business lines within the next 5 years, have a liquidity day and make a ton of money to put into property in a big way. Right, you got 5 questions you'd like to ask us. JB is going to read the questions out. If he gets them wrong, you say, JB, you've got it wrong. And
right, question, because we're a bit pushed for time, so we're going to do it rapid fire.
Rapid fire, let's do it.
So question number 1 was, how do you manage rapid growth?
Build management teams.
Great answer. Question number 2 was, how do you structure bigger business and property purchases so you better reserve cash?
Well, you have to borrow money, but the way that really happens with ease is you build something and sell it, and then you go in a big way. Every single super successful entrepreneur that you meet here in the UK, or not meet, but know of, especially in America as well, there are business sales in their journey that has allowed them to go to the next level. Elon Musk selling PayPal allowed him to really accelerate. Richard Branson selling Virgin Records allowed him to massively accelerate. Alan Sugar selling Amstrad allowed him to massively accelerate. You've just got to do those liquidity days.
Do you think people get this the wrong way around? Because if you look at, say, the Sunday Times rich list, then everyone has got a link to property. And I think people misunderstand that the property grew their wealth. Actually, no, the property is protecting their wealth. The business made their money.
That's a way of saying it, yeah. And people that, Alan Sugar literally owns copious amounts of commercial property.
Millions, hundreds of millions.
Billions, it's in the billions on the back of trading business. Profits from the trading business invested in there, or sales from trading businesses.
So profit first, property second, which is always your
business first.
Operandi.
Yeah, business first, property second, yeah.
Do you like profit first instead?
Well, it's the same difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just alliteration, isn't it? Fine. Question number 3. Should I work on my personal brand, and will this help the business? We've already covered that one off already, haven't we?
But I think the short answer is yes, but you've got to put the effort into it.
Yeah.
Building personal brand, I think JB and I are both in this space. I mean, he more than me, helping lots of other people. Lots of people doing it now.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing it.
No.
But it is like exercise. You know, you can't just make one video and watch the millions come in. You can't just make one podcast and watch the millions come in. It is a constant process of a lot of work. But if you do that consistency and a lot of work, it is an asset that is so valuable.
100%. But don't start to do it without clarity.
Yeah.
Because that's really, unvaluable. How do you source deals, and is it possible outside of your local area?
How do I source deals? I write letters to people. I do outreach. I have agents contact me, and I have an investing day every single month.
You've said this before.
I actually,
tell everyone again.
Most people just go on Tinternet, see what's available.
I thought you were going to say Tinder. Go on Tinder. What's available?
It's a Peter Kay
Swipe
thing.
left, swipe left.
Oh, he goes, go on Tinternet, book holiday, booked it, backed it. That's it, that,
Sorry, I distracted you. Carry on.
Sorry, yeah.
You go out and see stuff.
I think that's the big difference between, and I was telling Joel, who's a client of mine that I actually do some consultancy for, he wants to get into property. I said, look, get really good at property. You have to go and view stuff. You learn stuff. You get to meet agents. And most people just use the internet.
Desktop research, they call it, don't they?
Desktop research. Whereas I am like, get in the car and go and view things.
Walk the streets.
I still think that's hugely valuable.
And how would you sort of like do you now pick the model that you want to go after? And then so you go, right, well, actually,
I think I'm
you want to be an hour from home.
Yeah,
light industrial.
Sometimes I'm very proactive, and other things, we're very opportunist as well. Like this building that we're in right now, I just went up to them and said, look, I own next door. If you want to sell, can I buy this off of you, please? So that was me outreaching and proactively, I didn't send them an email. I actually knocked on the door. Hello, I'd like to buy this off of you. And,
you actually came and physically saw them and had that conversation.
Yeah, the Rossi parlour. I went, as soon as I bought Rossi, I went out to them and said, look, I bought the factory, I bought the brand, I'd like to buy this too, please.
Did you walk into the coffee shop?
Yeah.
Did you?
I said, I knew who the owner was. I said, look, can I take you out for dinner? We're going to be doing some business together. Bish, bash, bosh.
Well. There you go.
Dear.
Right, and you had one more question which I now can't get to because somebody's trying to phone me. Hang on 2 seconds. Final question was, when do you, this is going to be good. When do you know when it's done?
When's what done?
Yeah,
well, let's ask him, what does he mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean, Matt?
Building the business, your liquidity day, as you refer, like when you're done, like I'm now ready to move on to the next big thing or whatever. How do you know?
I think finish dates on business plans for your business. And a lot of people, do slag me off on this. They go, I never want to finish. I don't need a business plan.
Is that how they all talk as well?
Well, if you go and speak to private equity, venture capital, people that are investing money, they go, I'm going to put £1 in. What's my pound going to be worth in 5 years or 10 years' time? What are you going to do with my pound, and what are you going to turn it to in 5 years, 10 years' time? That is what investors do. And the whole seminar I done yesterday, Investorpreneur, was all around actually entrepreneurs having a little bit of that around them. They'll build things much better. My little phrase on this is most people are building a house without a set of architectural plans when they're building a business. Well, no one will go and build a house without a set of architectural plans. You never know when things bloody finished. So I do think you should say, in 5 years' time, my business will have this profit, this revenue, this team, this culture, and this is the role I'll be playing in the business. And then it's ready to sell. And then that's how I would work. And then you would create another business plan for the next 5 years, and then the next 5 years after that. But you don't want to just be doing stuff without a documented plan. Super wealthy people are brilliant planners, and they have it documented.
Do you have a 5-year plan per business?
I've got if you log into Entrepreneurs University, which you can try for free, by the way, ladies and gents, you can see all my business plans with those documented plans, all in Entrepreneurs University. After that, it's $49.99 a month, or you can try it free for 14 days. JamesSinclair.net.
Bargain. But so if, for example, if you were, let's say, like with this, for example, this comes up, opportunity comes up, you're next door to it anyway, and it's an opportunity. You like commercial property, etc. Do you look at it and go,
that opportunity would fold into, I've always said, look, I want to build a £40 million business with a 5 million of EBITDA, then a £100 million business with a 10 million of EBITDA, that everything we do folds into existing empire. There has to be synergies. Can we manage the thing? Is it $1 million plus of revenue? Is it quite predictable? Is it in an industry we understand? Is there an audience that want to buy for it? All of those things were ticked. And is it a property that we can own, that we can operate the business from? Yes. Right, let's buy.
But that fits into your 5-year plan, 10-year plan?
Well, this was a really...
When it's finished plan?
This thing here was a control play because we own next door and we wanted to own the whole site.
Yeah.
Did I want to own a business like this? No, but we are at the stage and the size now sometimes.
Can
Like,
you just absorb stuff in?
I don't want to compare myself to Mark Zuckerberg here, but when he bought WhatsApp, I did in a micro scale.
Wow.
In a micro scale, he bought WhatsApp for 22 billion just because he didn't want Google or any of the big tech companies to control the space. Yeah,
So you've done the same.
I didn't want a neighbour.
way.
No,
So
I didn't want a neighbour here that
Fair enough.
not control, because we do share the yard and all of those things. Plus, it was leisure and hospitality.
Does that then fit into? Is there a 5-year plan for
Out
Rossi?
of all of the things that I've got, you've chosen Roller City. Rossi is a much better example. Buying the Rossi shop and having the Rossi factory is a much better example of us making sure that we target the right opportunities.
But what I'm saying is, within that, buying the Rossi parlour, for example, because you seem much more comfortable to talk about than this one, which you've literally bought for the car park, which is advice you can't give to other people.
No,
but with Rossi parlour, is that a 5-year? Is there a 5-year or a 10-year plan for Rossi? And that folds into that
I want
plan.
to build Rossi into a £15 million business that makes a £2.5 million profit. That's what we're all working
Do you think that is part of the secret of your success? Because if I ask you about, you've said about the group, 50 million with kicking off 5 of EBITDA and then 100 million kicking off 10 of EBITDA, but then individually the business, you know that number.
Yeah.
Is that written down somewhere? Are you working?
Absolutely, yeah.
So do you look at it like, how often do you look at that?
I'm a prolific goal setter.
How often do you look at it?
Well, that's very easy. I know that it needs to be, because I know, look.
But how often do you go back to that vision and mission?
You should be building businesses to sell even if you have no intention of selling it.
Yeah.
Does Rossi look like something that someone would buy that's not an entrepreneur? There's lots of entrepreneurs that buy things because they see an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to sell to entrepreneurs. I know the right people to sell to are investors and people spending other people's money.
Yeah.
Venture capitalists, private equities,
Because they will pay you more for that business.
Absolutely, much higher multiples. And I know these are the sort of things that attract them. Even if I have no intention of selling it, I don't think I will sell Rossi. I don't think I'll sell Marsh Farm or any of my businesses. I mean, I'll have to sell some of them one day because, I'm going to die. And one day, not now, but, eventually there
Hopefully
needs...
not before lunch.
And for all the things that I've just spoken about, you need to create liquidity days. So what makes Rossi valuable? A big enough turnover with a big enough profit that then someone goes, that's an investment, that's not a business, and I want to pay multiples for that business, that investment. And that's why people like our guest today, Matt, who's on the show, is prepared to put big hard cash for such little return into buy-to-let property, is because subconsciously he sees that as an investment and not a business. And the idea is to get a trading business and turn it into an investment, sell it, then put that cash into property, stocks and shares, bonds or whatever that's going to protect your wealth over the long term. And that's the playbook.
There you go. Matthew, have you had all of your questions and more answered? Are you elated, delighted, inspired, motivated?
Yeah, no, it's always really good to talk and just sound other people out. I'm a big fan of, like, you are the percentage of the people that you hang around with most and the rest of it, and it's always good to reach out to other people and get opinions.
Well, if you love the show that much, Matt, it now comes on to my cheeky little plug. Are you going to come and see James Burt and James Sinclair live at the Leicester Square Theatre for the business broadcast live? It's going to cost you about £32. Are you going to be there?
Well, I think at the bargain price of £32, I'll have to be there. Well, not
I think we lied to you, actually. I think there's a £2 booking fee on top, which we don't get, the theatre get.
Well, I'm sure we can stretch that far.
Or is it £30 plus £2 booking fee?
Less than a pair of Nikes.
Less than a pair of Nikes. Yeah. Well, hopefully you're a member of Entrepreneurs University as well, baby. Well, thanks for being on. We're going to go and have some lunch, and we will see you very soon to help grow your business. Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. And if you have enjoyed this episode, please feel free to click the 5-star button wherever you're listening, or hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. And click the link in the show notes if you'd like to find out more information about watching this pod live in the flesh.
I can't wait to do that. Do you know, there's 365 days a year.
Yeah.
We all have certain favourite days of the year.
Yeah.
This is definitely above my birthday. This is definitely above Christmas Day. It's definitely above my children's birthday. Did I say that out loud?
Wedding anniversary. Oh, how long? This would be your first wedding anniversary this year as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it can't be above that.
No.
It's the right answer. Right, we'll see you on the next pod.
It's going to be a great night. Please buy your tickets at jamessinclair.net. Click on the events button and you'll see podcast live there. It's going to be great.
Ta-da.